Hi, I'm Lance Foster. I'm an aerospace engineer at NASA Glenn Research Center, and I'm going to talk to you today about the parachute testing that we used about the testing of the parachute for the Perseverance rover, which is also the same kind of parachute we used for the Curiosity rover. So first, to just kind of orient you and give you an idea when and how we use the parachute, I'm going to show a little video that's going to show some of the process that Perseverance is using to enter the Martian atmosphere. So now I'm going to go to video. All right. So this is after the capsule containing the Perseverance rover has finally reached the Martian atmosphere. So it's just touching the atmosphere of Mars, and it's getting very hot as it's entering. That front side of the capsule is the heat shield. So we're entering Mars air. It's not actually made of air, but it's atmosphere. And the rover is contained inside of this capsule. So as we're getting closer, what you're going to see shortly, the heat shield, which is on the front of the capsule, is going to release. That is the parachute opening, that is the part we will talk the most about today. Once the parachute opens, this is still supersonic speed that this capsule is falling. Supersonic meaning, so we're still going faster than the speed of sound. And this parachute opens and it's going to slow the rover down from supersonic speed till we're going to get to subsonic speed. And once that happens, capsule cracks open, the sky crane comes out with the rocket boosters, and it's going to continue to lower the rover down to the Martian surface. Now, a natural question people ask is, well, you've got this thing with the rocket boosters. Why wouldn't you use the rocket boosters to lower it all the way down to the surface? Great question. This rover is heavier than previous rovers, and it's so heavy that if they lowered it all the way down to the Martian surface, the rocket boosters would create a giant crater around the rover, and the rover would be stuck, and that would kind of be the mission. So the sky crane lowers it, we put it on the lines, and then the sky crane flies away. All right, so that is it for that video. So what we did at NASA Glenn Research Center in our 10-foot by 10-foot supersonic wind tunnel, we did wind tunnel testing of the parachute that was used for the rover. So I'm going to quickly, this is where I guess I'm not going to take much time between. I'm going to go to another video I have, and this will kind of show how our test article, that's what we call a model we put in the tunnel. And our test article was the capsule and parachute. And I'll show you how that relates to what you just saw. Okay, and I'm going to run this video. So yet again, this is our capsule attached to the parachute, and this is our tunnel. This is our model capsule, and you see lines coming from the model. These are technicians putting it together. That's Christy, our test engineer. And now, the test in the wind tunnel, this is where we fire the charge and boom, we pop open the parachute. Okay, so this is the actual test article that we tested in the wind tunnel. And we had air blowing at Mach 2.5 up to 2.8 for some of the data. I'm going to come out of this video right now. So I guess the first thing is, why are we doing this testing? Why did we do this? What did we want to know? So the job of the parachute, first and foremost, the job of any parachute is to decelerate an object that you're dropping. Just like when a person jumps out of a plane and they open a parachute. The job of the parachute is to slow down the object that's falling so that it can land at a safe speed. So coming into the test, we had already done a lot of other testing, and the JPL people had already done some modeling, and this was a follow-on test to verify that the models they were using were accurate. So what I don't show you pictures of, before that test, we did a test with a hard shell canopy, and that's where it was basically a parachute, but it was a metal model of the parachute that didn't flex, and it just sat there, and we measured the forces that that parachute was pulling on the capsule with. And after doing that test and continued work by the JPL folks and other modeling, that data looked good. So then we went to the soft shell canopy test, and that was the parachute that you just saw open. And what we were looking to see, we were looking to measure the loads that the parachute put on the capsule. So we want to know, how hard is this parachute pulling on the capsule? That's called a drag force. So how much drag force do we have? And the amount of drag force, that tells us how well the parachute is going to slow down the capsule. And also, I do want to show this picture again. So if you look here at the parachute, this is what's called a disc gap band configuration. And what that means is the parachute consists of a disc, like most parachutes. Then there's a gap. There's a space where the fabric is open, and then another band. So this is called a disc gap band parachute. And we use this because it's a supersonic parachute. You know, I'm sure you've seen, usually here on Earth, when somebody jumps out in a parachute, it's just I guess the disc part, you know, it's just one solid, it's just one parachute with no holes in it. Because this parachute is working at supersonic speed, they found that it was more stable if you have that gap in there, so that it can breathe and some of the air can get out some. So that this disc gap band configuration is for a supersonic wind tunnel. Another thing you'll see, there's a lot of little white dots on the parachute. All those white dots are for a process we call photogrammetry. Now, some of you watching probably like to play video games, and particularly if you've seen on sports video games, when they're making the game and they'll put the athlete in that black suit with the little white dots on it, and they use that so they can get the motions just right. So that makes, if you're playing a basketball game, it makes the motions look really realistic, or a football game where they have the people do the moves and they can make video game characters that look like it. So photogrammetry, we put these dots all over the parachute, and we have an array of cameras. And what happens with the cameras working together, we're able to track in 3 dimensions the positions of each of those dots. And this is important for this testing, because when that parachute opens, it doesn't just open and sit there. The parachute, it kind of moves around, and it breathes and and gyrates. So by doing photogrammetry, the JPL researchers were able to measure the motions of the parachute and see if there were any particular frequencies, any patterns they wanted to see in what was happening with the parachute movement. So that, and we can stop. I shouldn't have surprised you. So you can stop sharing. So that was a really exciting experience. I think it's funny when things like this happen. You know, we did this test, and the JPL folks got their data, and they went back, and it was some years later. I think this testing happened in probably 2000, maybe 2008. So we sent the Curiosity rover. NASA sent that up in 2012. So we had already done the testing, and it was years later when we heard, oh yeah, you know, that parachute that they tested here, they're going to do that. They're sending it up. So just the timeline, when you see these things happening, And we use that parachute to land Curiosity, and that's the same kind of parachute that's going to land Perseverance on the surface. When you see these things happen, it's a long timeline and a lot of work by a lot of people that goes into that when you see one of these things happen. So every piece of a mission like this, you've got thousands of different systems. You've got the parachute. You've got the rocket boosters for the sky crane. You've got materials work for the heat shield. You've got all these thousands of components. So you have all these parallel research programs going where people are working, are trying to find different solutions to problems we have to solve to make this thing work. I'm going to show, I've got a picture of some of the test team. It's not everybody, but so there's some of us that dapper young gentleman who looks very sleepy from third shift testing in the back row. That's me. And you see Christy Pastor Barcy is in there, Jim Roeder, Anita Sengupta, and that's engineers and technicians. And this by no means is the whole team. I'll stop sharing that. That's not everybody. When we do one of these tests, well, first of all, the testing happens on third shift usually, and third shift for us is 11 p.m. to 7 in the morning, and we do that for a variety of reasons. One, first of all, the wind tunnel is very large and it's very loud. Even though the test section where we put the article is 10 feet wide by 10 feet tall, the whole facility takes up like a whole city block. And when the wind tunnel is running, it's very loud. So first of all, just to not be a nuisance while people are there during the day, we run at night. But the truth, they're not that concerned about our well-being. The truth is that the power is really cheaper than they're. All jokes aside, they're concerned about us, but the electricity is a lot cheaper during off hours. So that's a major driver for why we run then. And when we're doing a test like this, it's really an around the clock effort, because what happens, we come in and test at night, and we'll take our data all the way from midnight up until 6:15 in the morning. And that's when we start to shut down. And at that point, the day shift comes in. So you've got a whole other set of people with a lot of the same skills. A whole other set of engineers and technicians come in because they have to fix things that we broke. I guess another secret of research that I don't think should be a secret. We show you video of tests and you see the video of when it works well and when we pull it off. But the reality is, for every accomplishment, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work. So that video I showed you where the parachute opened, that was one where finally the parachute successfully opened. But before that happened, we had issues with the charge, with making the parachute open on time. Sometimes the parachute was opening early. Sometimes the parachute didn't open all the way, like all the bands didn't come loose. Engineering research period is very much trial and error. One of the jokes is that if you come in the morning and usually we come in and things are broken, and if at the end of the day you have fixed something, that's a good day. So there's a whole lot of the whole process. There's a lot of growing pains, and research is about learning. So at the beginning, you're trying to do something we haven't done before that we didn't know how to do, and we're trying to learn how to do it. So at the end, when it works, it's fantastic for everyone. And you look at a situation like this, we're landing rovers on Mars, which is let's pause and think about that. That's amazing in itself. We are from Earth launching rovers into space and landing them on Mars. But when we put that up there on Mars, you get one shot. And that one shot, it has to work. So just like you look at a a basketball player shooting a three-pointer, and and it's the finals and the clock is ticking and there's 3 seconds left and somebody shoots a three-pointer. That's not the first time that person shot a three-pointer. That person has spent hours and hours in the gym shooting and missing and shooting in different situations and finding out what does and doesn't work for that moment. So when we get there and we put perseverance on Mars, that is that is us hitting the game-winning shot, and we get one shot at that, and there's thousands of hours by thousands of brilliant people working to create that one moment. So for that moment to work, we spend a lot of time trying things that do and don't work to get ready for that. So yeah, and that is how we at NASA Glenn wind tunnel tested the parachute that will be used to land the Perseverance rover, that was used to land the Curiosity rover, and that's just a small piece of the part that we here at NASA Glenn in Ohio have played in the effort to put the rover up there. I think you've already seen some other talks about the power systems, work on that was done here, and work on the communications. And on previous rovers, they did drop testing for Spirit and Opportunity. So we know that everybody's familiar with Houston because they hear Houston, we have a problem, in Cape Canaveral, but there are a dozen NASA centers and we all have different specialties. And in Ohio, NASA Glenn is very much involved in the successes you see for the space program. And with that, I will get off my soapbox, and they tell me that you all will also be testing your own parachute. So I don't want you to get discouraged or feel away if your parachute doesn't do exactly what you wanted to do the first time, because the parachute that we're going to use to land the rover didn't work right the first time either. We didn't get it right the first time, so you're going to have to, there will be trial and error, and you're going to try things, and you're going to reiterate, and you're going to fix things, and you're going to try other solutions. So don't feel away. The best solution comes from trying and failing more often. The more things you try, the more things don't work, and the more you know about why the winning solution really works. And that's it. So have fun out there, and I'll see you all out there later.